Hey everybody, happy Be Real. Nice to see you all. It's been a while. It's Trish Carr, and I'm here with Women's Prosperity Network. And it is my pleasure to be with you today with another episode of Be Real, Get Real with Women's Prosperity Network. And you know what we're about here is all about getting to know the person behind the business because we do business with people, not businesses, right? I go to the same grocery store every week, and every week it's the same person at the cashier. Every week it's John putting my stuff in the bags. Every week it's Susie at the grocery store. Every time I go to Starbucks, I know the barista. It's the people behind the business that keep us coming back. It's the people behind the business that really make the difference. So when we get to know each other, we get to like each other. And you know what happens then? We like each other. We want to do business together. So I am so excited to introduce you to my special guest today because, okay, so we just got past, I know it's been about a month now since I paid my taxes. April 15th is one of those dates that just goes, ah, maybe you get a pain in the pit of your stomach. Maybe you get a throat here. Maybe you get something in your chest. For me, I know I'm going to have to pay taxes. It's just a matter of holding my breath to see how much. So I want to work with somebody who's going to do everything they can to make sure that what I earn, I can keep as most as I can. And that's what Nellie Williams does for people. Nellie Williams, my good friend Nellie Williams, is a former IRS employee who now works with people to take care of their taxes, make sure that they get exactly what they should get, and that Uncle Sam gets what he's supposed to get, and absolutely no more. And Nellie, thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much, Trish.
You're welcome. And Nellie comes to us, grew up in Chicago, and is now in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, which is going to be my next trip this year. But I'm going to wait till the end of the summer, Nellie. I don't think I can take it.
That's going to be, October or November.
Yes, that's a good time. That's a good time. And when you were talking earlier, you were saying that you grew up in the Windy City. And tell me what windy means. I never knew this.
Well, windy, naturally you think weather, air blowing. Well, it's air blowing, all right, but it's talking, political talking, gab, 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 gab. That's the windy part of the Windy City.
I had no idea. And my mom lived in Chicago. So I grew up in New York, and my mom moved to Chicago later in her life, and they called it the Windy City. And the first time I went there, I said, like, it's not windy here. Yeah. Why do they call it that? So now I know it's all the blowhards talking about politics.
There you go.
Yeah, it must be fun. It must be fun. So glad to have you with us. So the first question I have for you is, what does EA stand for?
EA, it's enrolled agent. I'm recognized by the IRS as knowledgeable in tax, and my 5-year service with the IRS allowed me to apply for the status enrolled agent rather than take a comprehensive exam because I'd already lived through 5 years of tax application. And it allows me to represent clients at all levels of the IRS, anywhere in the world that they have an office. So unlike CPAs, there's for every 10 CPAs, there's one EA. That's how many more CPAs there are than there are EAs. And why am I going there? Because everybody says, go see your CPA. Well, right. They're all about accounting. And by choice, I do not do accounting because I do tax. So, and I'm busy, which is great. I don't have time for accounting.
Well, and you know what? Tax is such a huge book of rules. How do you do both? It's nice to have somebody who's specializing in that one area. How do you keep up with all the changes?
It's constant continuing education. It's constant learning. It's constant building on what we already know. The tax laws change every year, and it's all based on Congress and what they want to do for themselves that they pass along to the public. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good for us. Their special interests, their special things. But even during the year, tax season especially, if there's changes during the tax season, that is the most maddening because we're already prepared for what we think is going to happen. And then they throw in a monkey wrench and we have to relearn it and re-amend some returns that were already filed under the law correct at the moment. So it's sometimes it gets harder than we want. But I say that as long as I'm able and as long as my clients want me to, I will continue to do this because I enjoy it. And my clients are my family. So I like to.
Wonderful. I have so many questions like, how do you stay sane in the first few months of the year? Like, you must be like crazy all the way up until now because you're still finishing, right?
Oh, yes. December is a lot of planning in advance, where I schedule my client appointments in advance. I still like to see clients at my desk. We have a conversation, we rebond for the year, and I do their tax return. They bring me what I need, and they go home with a completed return unless there's something that they forgot to bring or they didn't have yet. I like it a lot better than doing a virtual correspondence preparation, but I do work all over the country, so there's a lot of mail-in and a lot of correspondence work as well. The nice thing about Zoom, though, is that we can get a little, one-on-one over the miles, so that it's almost like being in person. It's just over the monitor.
So you have clients all over the country?
I do.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And then, so everybody thinks that if you do taxes for a living, that from April 15th to December 31st, you don't do anything. Is that true?
Well, I told my dad when I first started my business almost 40 years ago that I was going to have a seasonal practice, and he laughed out loud because he knew better, and I was just naive and coming from a government job. It was great. So yes, the bulk of the work, there's really little that gets done with the clients in January other than here's when I would like to see you. If you need to make a change, let me know. Here's what you need to bring me. So I'm equipping them to collect all their information and come to see me prepared, so that we can make the most of our time and they can leave with the completed return. But there's still a lot of returns on extension. And when April 15th comes, that's when my brain says it's almost April 15th, Nellie. You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing, but you're going to be able to relax soon. So I have to keep on top until the very last return is filed timely or extended timely.
Yeah.
But then after April 15th, it's like I do nothing in the office. I don't go in the office. I don't do work. I might make sure that I've picked up my electronic acknowledgments, but then it's me time. I need to take time for what I want to do. And sometimes that spills over into, well, it's time to work on extensions. So, it's back to self-discipline.
Yeah. Those extensions take you all the way into the end of the year.
Yes, until October 15th.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead, say you were going to say.
But a lot of that is on me. I need to be after my client to even though the government will allow you more time, let's get this done before October 1st. Let's get this done in September. Let's get this done in August.
Right, because you can extend all day long, but you still owe them as of April 15th.
Yeah. And I'm running out of want to work on taxes. I want to work on something else, more fun.
Right, exactly. So you were saying how you grew up in the Windy City and that was all about political gab. But one of the things in the Windy City was we used the word, blowharding, gossiping, talking about everything was talking about. But somehow you learned very early on how to keep secrets. Tell me about that.
Well, I didn't actually grow up in the city. We moved from Chicago to a small town on the North Shore called Lake Bluff. There's the Lake Michigan, and then there's a bluff, and then the town. So we were in the town. We went to the lake every day that in the summer that I could. I just loved it. But it's a beautiful small town USA, and it's very patriotic. And you think, oh, small town, coffee clutches and talk, 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 talk.
Right. And everybody knows everybody else's business.
But that's true. In a small town, you do know everybody else and their business. But my mom was a secret keeper. And it wasn't that she was hiding anything, but before they were married, both my mother and my dad were involved in World War II. Dad was in the Army. Mom was working for the Department of Defense. And after she died, I found a book in her closet that was all about communication and a secret project that the government was working on, and that it was national security that she could not reveal to anyone. So it was just natural. Mom didn't gossip. I didn't gossip. She could carry on a conversation. I can carry on a conversation. Oftentimes, though, it's hard for me to come up with a topic because if you let me know what you want to talk about, because I don't divulge, so that has served me well in this business because clients come to me with confidential information. And even I learned working for the government, you might have tax issues that you want to talk with the colleague about, but you never reveal who is the taxpayer. You never reveal their secret, confidential, private information.
Mm-hmm.
The government wants to know all about your money, but my clients enjoy the fact that they can come in, they can talk to me. They might see the same person in passing after their appointment. Oh, I saw you last year, but that's all that's being shared.
It's like HIPAA. It's like a HIPAA thing with medical.
Exactly.
Do you have any kind of legal right? So with HIPAA, there are strict rules. Do you have the same thing with what you do? Strict rules with what you're doing in terms of confidentiality. You don't have anything, like nobody's requiring you to do that. You're just keeping people's information close to the vest.
Yes. When you're in the tax business, you're expected not to be revealing personal information. And I couldn't believe it. Many, many years ago, there was a chain tax shop that this particular office had closed for the season, and they had tossed out a lot of records just into the open trash. And I thought, are you kidding me? You're violating, the confidentiality laws.
Much less what could be stolen as identity theft from that stuff.
And that was before ID theft was a big thing. But yes, absolutely. Anybody who wants to break the law, that's all they're focusing on is, okay, how do we make this work for us? Right. And I don't think that way. I think, okay, what's the law? How do we apply it properly? How do I make my clients pay their legal tax, but not a penny more? And one of my favorite quotes is from Justice Learned Hand, who's long gone, but he said that there's nothing so sinister in arranging your affairs to pay the lowest legal tax. There's nothing sinister in doing that, in so arranging your affairs.
Oh, right. I want to pay the lowest legal tax. I'm still going to pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So let's go back to this government thing with your mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was your mom doing for them at the time?
She was working on the Manhattan Project.
Wow, yeah. That is the coolest. That's like Oppenheimer.
Well, I thought, oh, Manhattan, New York City, what's the big deal about that? But that's the atomic bomb.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. So none of us knew. Nobody knew. Nobody knew the truth about it because she wasn't going to divulge.
So
And
what was her role there?
she was in communication. Somehow, I don't know exactly what, because she couldn't tell me and she was already gone. So I don't know. And I
Wow.
didn't pursue what it
Yes,
could have been.
so
But
fascinating.
yeah,
Really. But you just knew you can't ask, don't ask, don't
that's
tell,
right.
don't talk about it.
Right. Well, we just never really did. We were too little to want to ask. And as we grew older, we had other things going on.
Mhm.
And all I knew is that I got really good training as a young child. Didn't matter what Susie and Debbie and Linda were doing. You mind your own business. You don't talk about what they're doing. You don't, you talk about what you're doing. Let them talk about what they're doing.
That's
So
really good
yeah,
advice.
it was excellent advice.
Really good advice. Like how you got through high school without gossiping, I'll never know.
Well, and here's the other thing. When I went to high school, there were 5 small towns that collected into one communal high school, and it was not in my town. It was in the town next to me. And so we took our little classes. I grew When I graduated 8th grade, there were 68 of us in the class.
Oh, small town.
It was. And so there were and some of the classes, the other towns were similar in size or smaller, maybe larger. They were all different. But we each brought our own little groups of kids together and we sort of stayed in our own group. And I was never disliked, but I wasn't one of the popular girls. We were all friends. I, my birthday is in September, right before school started. We had a big party in the yard. Um, so we had a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances. And I still today have a lot of acquaintances, but friends are few. They're
Mhm.
close. They're cultivated. And even today, when I was a little girl, I had 2 really close friends. They were twin sisters.
Oh,
But today I have 2 or 3 really good friends.
mhm.
Even in college, 2 or 3 really good friends. So in this little town, I had just a couple of friends. And we left Illinois in my senior year of high school. And most people say, "Oh, Nellie, you're leaving everything you had." I said, "No, I didn't. I didn't leave anybody. We picked up our stuff and we moved." So I was able to develop new friendships, but here in Phoenix, it took me 6 months going to school before I really made my first friend. But we're friends today.
You're
I was in
still
this.
friends with those 2 or 3 from your hometown?
No, we parted ways a few years ago because there was no more really.
Commonality.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
they moved to Florida, which was great.
yeah,
But
that's great.
yeah, but I
But
was glad that
still,
my dad picked Phoenix. So
you would think it's a hard thing to move when you're a senior. I know that I moved when I was like a sophomore or a junior, and I didn't like it. It took me a long time. And I also had the big city mentality, because you grew up in a little city, you went to a bigger city. So that must have been a real shift too.
it was. Lake Bluff was a population 3,500. And when I moved, yeah, and it's still about 3,500 today. When I
Wow.
moved to Phoenix, it was population 700,000.
Yeah.
So it was a yet growing metropolis. And but it wasn't too big to move into. It wasn't like I wasn't moving into downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. 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 But
yeah,
you moved right to Phoenix. You weren't living in a smaller place like Mesa or Glendale or anything like that.
no, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. When you think about what we learn as we come up in the world and how you learned to keep your mouth shut. You learned to mind your own business. You learned not to inquire into everybody's stuff. And look
Exactly.
at you, what you're doing for a living requires you to have that ability. It's just, it's crazy.
I think that everything that we have in our early years helps to prepare us for who we are in our older years.
Hmm.
So it worked for me. It's still working for me.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
you're doing what you love. How great is that? And you're doing it on your terms, on your time, in your way. And isn't that what it's
it is.
all about?
It is. Some
That's,
of my clients are still with me from day one in my practice.
wow.
And and it doesn't matter how long they've been with me. Many of my clients ask me, Nellie, you're not going to retire, are you? And other clients say, Nellie, you're not going to retire, are you? So it's the same words, different inflection. But
Yes.
and I feel that as long as I'm able to do a good job and I can still do what I need to do, I will do this as long as I can because I like what I do. And I've got colleagues that they've been working into their 90s. Well, as long as I'm sharp, I don't maybe want to work that long, but as long as I'm sharp, I'm going to work as long as I can because I like it.
Well, we love that you like it. And I'm so glad that you took some time to share with us today your background, what you're up to. Are you taking on new clients?
Yes, because
Yay!
as I age, my clients age. They get to where either they don't have to file anymore or they're not with us anymore, so they don't have a filing requirement. But I'm blessed to get referrals of younger folks. I've got families, 3 generations of family that I do taxes for. So that's
Wow.
a testament. Yeah.
Awesome. So, is an email address the best way to reach you?
Yes, it is. It's Nellie, Nellie, at N like Nellie, T like Tom, Williams with an S.com.
Easy enough. All
And
right, everybody.
there you go.
And
I do have a free report for anybody that would like it. The top 10 mistakes to avoid when you're filing your return.
I love it. Where can I get that?
Just email it to me because I don't have a landing page yet. So
Okay.
just email me your request and I'll send it out to you in a PDF form.
Got it.
Thank you.
Got it. All right. So before we go, I've got to ask you, what's the one mistake I really should look for because it happens all the time?
I think don't use too many zeros. Don't just guess at your numbers. If you're, don't say, oh, it was about 1,500. No. And even if a deduction adds up to be $1,500 even, I will make it 1,501 or 1,499 just to keep it from being too round of a number. So
Really?
yeah, I mean, even though it's government doesn't want cents. They want it rounded to the nearest dollar. So I'm rounding it that particular dollar to a different dollar amount.
That's so cool. Well, thank you. And I'm going to email you to get those top 10 mistakes to avoid so I don't have that problem next year. So
Great.
make sure you email Nellie at ntwilliams, which stands for Nellie T. Williams.com with that subject line. Top 10 mistakes to avoid. Nellie Williams, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure so much. Thank you, Trish.
Oh gosh, it's been my pleasure. I have enjoyed our conversation. If you've enjoyed our conversation, join me again for another episode of Be Real, Get Real. And if you're not yet a member of Women's Prosperity Network, be sure to click at womensprosperitynetwork.com and become a member for free. Dip your toe in, see what we're about. We love to welcome you to the community. Nellie, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again next time on another episode of Be Real, Get Real with Women's Prosperity Network. Take care, everyone.